Come on up. I like.
Hi, AJ. How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good. I like coming up to the stage from the front as opposed to like, you know, from behind the curtain.
Much of a backstage here.
No, it's just a wall.
It is.
Now we met just a few moments ago. Oh, people are coming in. Yeah, feel free to fill out the seats.
There's still some seats over here, and there's some seats over there, and in the back, and there's one right there. Excellent.
We're going to go to the floor for Q&A in just a bit. Should I wait until people get settled?
No,
I feel like
this will be a good walk-in interview.
Okay, cool. Well, I was going to open with a bit of a personal story, if I may.
Please do.
In that, I've been a big fan of yours for a number of years. I actually saw you twice in concert at the, I forget the name of the venue, but it's in Ottawa.
I remember that one.
Congress Center in Ottawa.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
you remember seeing me as you were going down the aisle. I was just about
You were the
3 or
fourth
4
row,
seats
the second
in.
to the left.
Exactly, and you went by. I believe you were like getting people to bring up on stage for your rendition of Fat. You're in the fat suit,
okay.
And I was a little bit sad that I didn't get a chance to come hang out with Weird Al. But I've been following your career pretty closely ever since. And in fact, I remember one morning watching you on either YTV, where I eventually landed my first job as a television show host. It was either YTV or Much Music. And a host was asking you a bunch of questions, and then turned it out to the floor for questions from the kids in the crowd. And they all asked you about your hair. I was very frustrated because I wanted, you know, insight on your creative process, that sort of thing. But everyone was asking you question after question about your hair. But I decided to learn from that moment. And later on in life, I took a job at Laser Quest working with kids. And I thought, how do I keep kids, you know, engaged?
Talk about hair, obviously.
Well, I grew myself some weird hair. I had spiky blonde hair that I spray painted glow in the dark, so when kids were in the maze with me, they could see where I was, and it worked, the weird hair. And then later in life, I got a job at YTV, Canada's you know, kids television channel, and I thought, well, it worked at Laser Quest, it worked there, so why not try it there? And my career's been going pretty well ever since. So I have you to thank for that, in part for the weird hair, but also...
The hair inspiration.
Yes.
Nice.
But also, and we'll get to a question now, you've got a very positive, optimistic slant to your comedy. I've never known it to be derogatory or pessimistic. It's satirical without being biting. Why do you have that, and how do you maintain that optimistic, you know, zest for life?
It's just an extension of my personality. I mean, I'm a pretty optimistic guy, and I'm generally very happy, and that's just the kind of humor I choose to put out there. I mean, some of my stuff, I mean, the parodies are pretty benign. Some of my fake interviews get a little nasty every now and then. But in general, yeah, I tend to not to step on people's toes. I like to say it's more of a poke in the ribs than a kick in the butt.
Right.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of your parody is about food and technology, which are two universally, you know, known things. Is that to maintain an audience of all ages and not to isolate, or is that?
Well, as a writer, you write what you know about, and basically, I spend all my time eating and surfing the web. So that's pretty much it.
All right. I also saw an interview, or it might have been one of those bio stories, where someone said that they visited your apartment. This is before your career really blossomed, and you had cutlery taped to the wall.
Oh, God, yeah, yeah. This must have been like 83, 84 when I was first starting out. And like Eat It was a big international hit in 1984, but the money hadn't come in yet. It's like when you sign your record deal, they don't say, and here's a pile of money for you. Right. They don't do that. And in fact, so when I was, you know, I had this top 10 international hit, and I still was living in a $300 a month apartment with a Murphy bed that folds out from the wall, like, you know, kind of like, not quite living large. It was
right.
Just, and people would, like, crews would come from, like, Japan, would come to my little one-room apartment in a little 4-story walk-up, and they'd say, they think they're getting punked, like, you don't really live here, do you? Like, no, I do. And I didn't have any art on the wall, so I would just take silverware or actually plastic cutlery and just tape it to the wall just randomly, just because I could.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had that, you know, a humble beginning, if I may say so, and now I got to read this stat for you because I did this online. I just checked. White and Nerdy has, as of like a couple of days ago,
Woo!
76 million hits on YouTube, and of course the original song Rollin' Dirty only 23. You've more than tripled the views on YouTube. That's not taking into account radio play or any other sources. So how does it feel to have something that is, a parody, overthrow the original?
It's pretty ironic, isn't it? It's, it feels good. I mean, and Chameleonaire was a great sport about it. In fact, he came up to me. Well, first of all, he allowed me to do it in the first place. And at the Grammys, the year that he won for Best Rap Song of the Year, he came up to me at the red carpet and held his Grammy and said, you're to thank for this because your parody made it undeniable that Ryden was the rap song of the year. So he was a great sport about it.
Yeah, I have his quote here in my notes. On the topic, I mean, you're here at a convention, white and nerdy. Is it cool to be a geek now?
Well, it kind of is, when I did, well, thank you. When I did White and Nerdy, I think I kind of was, this was not calculated, but I think I was sort of riding the wave of nerd empowerment. Like, when I was growing up, like, nobody wanted to be called a nerd. And nowadays, more people are like, trying to like share their nerd cred. Like, no, I'm a nerd. I've always been a nerd.
Yeah.
Like, it's something to aspire to now.
It's something to jump on the bandwagon for.
Yeah. So when White Nerdy came out, I think it was the tipping point. People were just kind of all of a sudden realizing that nerds rule the world.
I do give you credit for that. I think it was part of the tipping point. In the past few years, since then, it feels like it's suddenly become more acceptable to be
absolutely
geeky. Now, with this opportunity, you do so many meet and greets with your fans. Do they ever surprise you with references to things that you created that you forgot, or they quote some line to you and you're like, I don't know what that is, and then they remind you that you did this years ago?
Every now and then, I've been around for a while and I've done a lot of bizarre things, and every once in a while somebody will come up with a reference so obscure that even I don't remember it. Yeah, that happens.
Any questions from the floor? Because I got tons more. Oh, there's someone down on the floor right there.
Hello, I'm in teal, so you can see me way over here. Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hello. I just wanted to say I love your work. Thank you for coming. It's such a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
To get to see you so close. Well, I'm sitting much closer than this. My question for you, obviously, you've done a ton of work. What's your favorite experience that you've had in the work that you're in? I'm sure that's a hard question because you probably had a billion.
Gosh, that's really impossible to answer. Like, everybody wants to know the superlative. What's the best? What's the biggest? What's your favorite? I've had so many incredible experiences. I've been very fortunate and been able to do so many things. I'd have to just randomly pick something. I mean, my goodness, I don't even know. Working with Donny Osmond on the White and Nerdy video was probably way up there. He was amazing. He was just insane. Like, he flew out from Salt Lake City to be in the video. I'd met him like once or twice previously. We weren't like close, tight friends or anything like that, but he agreed to be in the video. He showed up, and absolutely no rehearsal or plan. I didn't even give him any notes. We gave him a copy of the original Ryden video, and he gave him a copy of White and Nerdy, and we said, we'd like you to be the guy dancing around like a lunatic behind me. He said, okay, sure, I got it. And I had no idea what he was going to do, and we just let the cameras roll. Okay, first take. And he just went crazy. In fact, I don't know if you do a search on YouTube for White and Nerdy take #1, it's on there, his first take, just the whole thing straight through against the green screen, and he's insane. And we watched it playback, and we just laughed like little schoolgirls. It was just really funny.
We do have microphones set up for more questions from the crowd. They're just at the back of the aisle. But let me ask you the only question that you ever thought was hard, Kirk or Picard.
I'm not going to answer that.
No?
I am certainly not here, no. I'm sorry.
Because you know that half the room is going to agree and half the room is not.
It's like you don't talk about politics. Like, you do not go down that divide.
For me, it's Janeway. That's always a safe answer, as I've learned.
Okay.
So we got someone at the mic down there.
Hi, my name is Ed, and I just want to know who was your inspirations for comedies? For what other comedians?
Well, the people that inspired me were more the musical comedians, the people that I heard on the Dr. Demento show, like Spike Jonze and Alan Sherman, Stan Freberg, Tom Lehrer, Shel Silverstein, Frank Zappa, people like that. And growing up, I'm a big fan of Monty Python, of course. I loved SCTV. And comedians still continue to influence me. If you just look at the people I'm following on Twitter, that gives you a good kind of indication as to my taste in comedy. But yeah, I've always been a big fan.
Let's go to that side of the room for a question.
Hello, Al.
Hello.
I have a question I need some marital advice.
Okay.
My wife really doesn't like your polkas. What am I gonna do?
Oh, that is tough. That is tough. I guess you want to stay with her, right?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Maybe give her some accordion lessons or maybe tuba lessons, and maybe she'll learn to appreciate it in time.
I'll give it a try. Thanks.
Okay.
Really quickly, with technology, you were saying you're surfing the internet now. You're releasing your songs online. Is that easier? Is that making your style of parody a lot easier? Or is it daunting now that you need to be on the ball? Because with YouTube, we see so many parody videos now. It's something so popular.
Yeah, it is tough because, people can get their parodies out pretty much spontaneously on YouTube, and it's hard for me. Well, I'll never again be the first person to do a parody of any given song. This next album is going to be a difficult one because all the songs that seem like they'd be good, obvious parodies, they've already been beaten into the ground. Like, I promise you, I will not be the millionth person to do a Gangnam Style parody.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Somebody you used to know.
Yeah, right. So it's tough. But, my next album will be a conventional CD. And after that, I don't know. I might just go digital. Because it's important for me to get my stuff out when it's timely and topical. So maybe at that point, well, I'll have to see where the industry is at by that point. But I'm open to anything, and hopefully part of that will involve a lot more in the way of digital distribution.
Cool. Let's go to the floor. We got another.
I have a completely strange question, maybe even a little weird. I've never seen you wear socks. What do you have against socks?
I wear socks on stage. I just not so much. I tend to go the path of least resistance, and socks are something that I don't need on my feet. So I only wear them when I'm in character.
Good answer. But that side of the floor.
Hi, so my question was, you've just been producing and making music for such a long time, and especially with parody artists, they come out and they have a really popular song and then they just sort of fizzle away. But you've remained sort of like not stagnant and always been consistently producing and creating. What do you think you attribute that to?
Well, it's still fun for me. I still love what I do. I'm tenacious. I just refuse to go away. And I've got the best band in the world. I've been with them for 30 years, and the same guys, and they're amazing musicians. I've been very lucky, and also I've got an incredible fan base of people that have been following me for so many years and have been just wonderful to me. So a lot of things together, but mostly just I've just been very lucky.
Let me ask you this. The world is so much now, or the world of entertainment, I should say, is about the sequel or the reboot of something that we have seen in the last 20, 30 years. UHF.
Yeah.
Would we... What are your thoughts on that? Would you revisit that I would say character, but it's pretty much you. A follow-up or... Yeah. Come on. Would you leave that to someone else? Because it's something, obviously, there's fans who would love to see something in that vein.
I get that question a lot, and it's very flattering because, as most of you probably know, that movie didn't do quite so well when it first came out.
I watched it over and over.
No, it's become, I guess, what you call a cult favorite because the people that are into it are really into it. Mm-hmm. And it's got a sizable fan base, and it did quite well when it came out on DVD 13 years later. But I kind of doubt that any major motion picture studio is going to say, you know what we should do? UHF 2. Well, so I mean, if somebody came to me and really wanted to do that, I'd have to seriously consider it. But I wouldn't hold my breath. I would love to do another movie. I'm guessing if that were to happen, it probably wouldn't be UHF 2. Sorry.
You could always investigate Kickstarter. You never know.
Well, we'll see.
Down that aisle.
I was wondering, can you set the record straight for something for me? Never mind. Wrong question. I noticed you had a security guard last night. Is that more of a necessity, or has something happened to have passed that required you to need one?
No, I generally don't need a security guard for anything in life. Or you mean just walking around the Comic-Con or on? For the concert, people generally tend to not maul me as a rule. So yeah, it feels even weird for me to just walk around here because I'm used to just walking around in public with no big deal, and people are saying, "Make a hole, get out of the way, clear the space." I just I can walk just fine, thanks.
Actually, Funny you should mention that. I saw Mr. Weird Al here on Friday night, or Thursday night. I was going to meet my brother on the corner. It might have been Thursday night, and you were actually coming towards me at the corner. I haven't seen my brother in over a year, and he was coming towards me at the intersection. You were investigating somewhere to get food, it seemed. And I was like, well, we're going to meet on... I didn't know whether to introduce myself to you then or to say hi to my brother I haven't seen in a year who lives out here. But yeah, he was all by himself, and I was a little surprised that you were just hanging out.
And you didn't maul me, which I appreciate.
Nope, I just thought,
that's great.
I'll get to meet him on the weekend, so I'll give him some space. Let's go to a question down there.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. My biggest question is, seeing that you've been able to reach the original artist for many of your parodies. How exactly do you go about that?
Most of the time, I don't talk to them directly. More often, it's my manager who talks to their representative. So it's like my peeps talking to their peeps, and they work it out and make sure that all the legal clearances are in place. On a rare occasion, my manager will say, "I'm having a tough time getting a hold of these people. If you really want this parody, you're going to have to go to the source." So I did that with Kurt Cobain. I did that with MC Hammer. I did that with maybe one or two others. But more often, it's just him talking to them.
All right. Thank you.
And you're known for not doing parodies unless you get permission from the artist.
That's right.
I know Prince has turned you down quite a number of times.
Yes, he has.
Well, why is it so important to you to get their permission?
You know, I just like to make that my practice because I don't like drama. I don't want, to do something that's going to offend an artist. I don't want to be at an award show and have them like looking at me like this,
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of common courtesy. And also, we live in a very litigious world. So even if I have every right in the world to do a parody, they could still sue me, and I don't want to deal with that. So historically, I've just found, I think that's one of the reasons I've been able to do this for as long as I have, is that, I don't burn bridges. I don't get people angry at me. I want to make sure that they're on board and they appreciate the joke.
Is there any musical style or subject matter within a song that you would stay away from parodying?
Yeah. Probably.
Well,
I could list several disgusting things, but I don't want to offend anybody.
But I suppose you could have like a trendy song that has subject matter that is, that it's very intense that you would, I guess, want to stay away from.
It depends what it is. I mean, there are probably some songs that would be considered a bit too sacred or too sensitive to make fun of. In fact, I was a little leery about doing a Born This Way parody because that had such a kind of a positive human rights kind of message to it. And the only reason that I was able to rationalize doing that was I gave the profits for that song to the HRC. But that was one of those things I was sort of on the borderline about. And there were certainly songs, like I would never do like a Tears in Heaven parody. That would be a little, bad taste. And I mean, I can think of a few examples where it probably wouldn't be cool to do a parody. But I always say the songs sometimes could be sacred, but the artist never. I mean, artists, there's no artist I would say that is like beyond being parodied.
Right. Is it, let me ask you about your creative process then. Are you, driving around and the new song comes on the radio and you immediately start coming up with the lyrics in an improv kind of manner and then just take a jot note, or do you hear a song a few times and then think of a way that you could do it?
I don't freestyle in the car too much, no.
I guess I'm alone on that one.
No. And I'm not always listening to the radio going, how can I make fun of this one, But ideas are obviously spontaneous and they can happen anywhere. So, but it's actually fairly rare that an idea will just be really spontaneous and pop into my head. Usually it's more of me like really focusing, saying this would be a good song to do something with, and what are my variations on a theme, and I'll make lists, and it's very analytical, and it's not quite as I don't have many voila moments. It's more like me like working really hard until I find like the one concept that I think would sustain a whole song.
We'll go to the floor over there.
Hi, Al. Wanted to thank you for the concert last night.
My
Realized
pleasure.
it had been 24 years since I saw you in a crappy roller rink, so it was awesome.
Thank you.
Wanted to say one more minute, best late night bar karaoke song ever written, ever.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know, of all the parodies you've done, are there any that you've looked back at and thought, I could have done this one better, or I could have you come up with different lyrics and gone, this would have been a better version of the song?
Well, there's some song parodies I've done where I look back and say, I shouldn't have done that at all. I mean, everything that I've done, well, there's certainly the production of my first couple albums could have been better. We had to kind of rush through those. I mean, there's a few parodies, I'm not particularly proud of. You know, I like to think that I've kind of gotten better over the years. There's a few things on the first 3 or 4 albums that, yeah, I was in a hurry to get the album out, apparently. but yeah, I can't think of anything specific I could tell you, but there have been a few moments that I wouldn't put on my greatest hits.
With songs like All About the Pentiums and White and Nerdy, where you've got it's like dripping with geek references and tech references, do you have anyone helping you with that, or are you just that geeky that
You think I'm not a geek? Well, you think
it's just so laden with it. I was just
Please, teach me about nerd culture. What is the thing you call nerd culture? Let me do some research on this thing. What do you think I am?
Questioning. I was just. Do you ever like have to ask anyone like I need a rhyme with a core processor or something like I don't. Guess not. All right. Sorry for asking. We'll go back to the floor.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello.
You've been doing this for about as long as I've been alive, and you look younger than I do. Are you a Highlander or a vampire?
Well, there can only be one. I'm sorry, sir. I still need a lot of Photoshop, but thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You are a vegan, if I'm not mistaken, right? Vegetarian? Or?
Yeah, well, a vegetarian-leaning vegan, but yeah.
Has that improved your health? Like, how long have you been doing that?
I have to contact the alternate version of me that's been eating meat for the last 20 years, so I can't really tell you.
All right, then. To the crowd.
Hi. Just want to say I love your music, but also I noticed you made like a couple songs about food and eating. But what is your favorite food?
My favorite food was that?
Yeah, your favorite food.
Oh, boy. Pani puri. It's an Indian dish. There you go. Okay.
Sales for shawarma went up after the Avengers, so a bunch of local Indian food places are getting a big boost in business now. Over to that side.
Hi. I really love your music, but one of the biggest things I loved about it was because, well, many days these people don't like people because, like, they're fat or they're nerdy, and you just turned that on their butt. You just went and it was kind of like you were saying, you can't do that to people. I'm going to show you that that's wrong, and I just really loved that. Was that hard, or why'd you do? Were you
I couldn't really hear that.
She's basically saying thank you for standing up for us bullied geeks and nerds. Am I right?
Yeah. Thank you.
And
well,
I think she's trying.
I'm here to say it gets better. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I think that I took on the moniker Weird Al when I first started out, was because, people would call me weird all the time in school, not in a friendly way. I was always the weirdo. I was always the kid that was like getting bullied and picked on. And I decided to take it on as a kind of a term of empowerment. Like, yeah, I'm different. I'm unusual. Like, big deal. Like, deal with it. So.
Thank you. Great question. Thanks for coming up. We'll go down. Man
Hey, Al.
Sue.
Hello. It's an honor to meet the Vicar of Yanks. I really enjoyed it. One of my fondest memories of Weird Al is the Al Music videos you did for Much Music.
Thank you.
I had all those recorded. And I really liked seeing that come back with the face-to-face with Weird Al. I'm wondering what kind of upcoming celebrities we could look forward to with that.
I don't know. I've been talking to a Nerdist channel, and they'd like to do another season of face-to-face. I'd like to do that as well. We're trying to figure out where the source material is coming from in terms of the interviews. So I can't tell you who the next interviews are going to be. What we're looking into it, and hopefully, I love doing those, by the way. So thank you, and hopefully we'll have some more of those coming up.
Down to that side.
Thank you. So my wife and I were watching the behind the scenes of Straight Outta Linwood, and there's this scene there where you're poking vegetables and stuff to have the Whistle Stomping Day scene. And how do you come up with these vegetables? Do you have a lab where you try things, or does there a common knowledge of it?
Well, I was trying them. I mean, there's a history of Foley artists using like celery to approximate the sound of somebody's neck breaking and that kind of stuff. So I knew a little bit of it, but mostly we just went to the grocery store and said, well, buy all these vegetables and fruit and we'll mangle them in front of a microphone and see how it sounds. And oddly enough, several things sounded like weasels being stomped on, so it worked out.
There you go. Bazinga.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you, as a biology teacher, I'd like to thank you for the most scientifically accurate song about the pancreas there ever is.
Thank you.
On behalf of Canadians, I'd like to thank you for getting us right in Canadian Idiot. And finally, I'm wondering, when do you think the powers that be will finally recognize your contribution to music and put you in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Oh. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I know I say I'm an optimist, but I just really wouldn't hold my breath on that just because I can't imagine those guys have enough of a sense of humor to include me in the hall. I mean, I'm just trying to talk real here. If some other accordion player makes it into the Rock Hall before I do, I will be a little upset.
Has there been a desire to do like a, dramatic, for lack of a better term, like album of soulful, introspective type music, just so that you get that recognition from the rest of the...
Well, I do serious music as a saxophone player under the name Kenny G sometimes. I don't know if you've heard any of the...
Right, yeah.
It's a whole different direction for me. No, the answer is no. I love doing what I do. I have no, a lot of people that try to make a name for themselves with a novelty hit and decide, well, here's what I really do. I'm really a serious artist. I have no desire to do that. My brain has always been warped. I completely enjoy what I do. I love my niche. I will say there's in 1985, I had just been on the Tonight Show, and they loved me there, and the talent coordinator was a big fan, and James Taylor was scheduled to do Fire and Rain on the Tonight Show, and he canceled at the last minute, and I got a panic call from him saying, could you please come on the Tonight Show and sing Fire and Rain? Straight, just straight. And that is the one thing in my life that I maybe most regret because I said no. Because I thought, like 5 people will think that's funny, like a real Andy Kaufman kind of thing, But I just thought that most of America would just look at it like a deer in headlights, like, what? So, but that would have been fun to do just a straight James Taylor cover on the Tonight Show.
That would have been awesome. We'll go to the floor over there.
Thank you. I agree with the guy who was there last. Thank you very much for Canadian Idiot. It's awesome. And did you ever put Harry the Wonder Hamster into an album?
Harvey the Wonder Hamster, yeah, that was on I think, Alpocalypse? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think, not Alapalooza.
Yeah, you had it on a TV show. You actually brought in Harry. I found it just on YouTube. And it was like 25 seconds long.
Right.
But it was still awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, is it actually on an album?
Harvey the Wonder Hamster?
Yeah.
It's on Alapalooza.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Down that Duffman.
Whatever happened to the Weird Al show?
It went off the air a long time ago. It's still available on DVD from Shout Factory.
You should make more.
Okay, I'll get right to work on that. Thanks, Duffman.
Shout Factory actually has a lot of great DVDs.
They have great stuff, yeah.
Yeah. We'll go down this aisle.
Hi, Al. You were saying that making a new album would be harder. For about 25, 30 years, I've thought of a parody version of the Who's song My Generation called Sex Education. And I was wondering, would you ever consider trying to do something like that?
I'm doing that exact parody in the next album, but now I can't do it because it's your idea, so thanks a lot. Great. I have to another one after this. It'll be another year before the album comes out now. Thanks a lot.
But you must get that sort of thing a lot. People like give
He
you
comes with
their-
me all the time with ideas, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you at the next city. Down there.
Al, thanks very much for coming to Canadian conventions where we can see you in person and where you're accessible to your public. My question is, are we ever going to see a hit West End or Broadway musical featuring a stitched-together pastiche of your songs?
That's been bandied about. That's one idea that's been kind of floated out there. Yeah, that'd be great, something like Tomfoolery, but with my songs. That'd be fun. There's been a talk of me doing like a run on Broadway, sort of like my concert, except an amped up production of the show, which would also be fun. I've also had a couple opportunities and currently investigating the possibility of writing my own Broadway musical, which may or may not ever happen. But these are things I don't usually talk about because it's like in development, irons in the fire kind of thing, and usually those things don't come to fruition. But I am certainly thinking about them, and maybe someday it'll happen.
Awesome, thanks.
There does seem to be a demand for comedic Broadway musicals. Thinking of Book
Yeah.
of Mormon. Are you a fan of the South Park guys?
Absolutely, yeah, I love that show. I can't really talk too much more about it because it would involve me talking about things that are in development.
Got it.
But I've been I'm a fan of that show, and I'm a fan of people that I may or may not be working with.
I think we all just kind of clued in on that. Cool. Down there.
First, I just want to say I'm a really big fan. And how long did it take you to grow your hair from last time it was short?
From the last time it was short, well, if you do the math from when it was short to when it was long, that's exactly how long it took. It just keeps growing out of my head. I can't help it. I haven't been keeping track of my diary. Today, I grew another quarter inch.
Back down to this aisle.
Okay, Micah? Okay. Hi. Okay, so one of the things I really like about you, besides the music and making us geeks feel really cool, is you just show up in the weirdest places, like on TV, with just weird cameos. And, oh, thank you. And I guess I always just figured that you'd be up for any sort of cameo, but I'm wondering if there's anything you wouldn't cameo in, or just if there's any cameos you turned down.
Yeah, no, I turn down cameos all the time. I tend not to do something if I think it's really bad. I think I got offered a bit part in a serious crime drama. This was in the 80s, but it was not a comedic part, and I don't know who my agent was at the time, but they put me up for the part of I shouldn't even.
You started the story.
Yeah. Okay. It's a short order cook who sexually molests handicapped women. That was the part they wanted me. Of course, Weird Al would be perfect for that. So I said no.
We can't blame you for that one. Down this aisle.
So now that there's been a new Star Wars trilogy announced, I was wondering if perhaps you might be interested in creating your own trilogy of Star Wars.
Well, I've often said that I churn out a Star Wars parody every 20 years like clockwork. So I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out entirely. We'll see.
Another ultimate geek question for you then: Star Wars or Star Trek?
You're trying to divide my fan base, aren't you? You're trying to stir up trouble. Let's keep it friendly here.
Okay. Back down there. Or Stargate.
Hi, last I saw you was at the Silver Dollar Casino a couple years back. I was just wondering, do you plan to add Calgary as part of your yearly regular tour?
It's not up to me, frankly. I go where I'm told. I mean, the promoters will make a deal with my agent. They figure out a routing, and I look at their itinerary and say, oh, I'm playing here. And when the bus stops, I get off and I do a show. So it's not up to me going, I would like to play Calgary. I'd love to play Calgary, but it really is not up to me. So if you know anybody that books shows, put a bug in their ear.
Down this aisle.
Yes, again, we appreciate all of the work that you have done for different times of all the genres, especially one for Dare to Be Stupid in the Transformers movie.
Thank you.
Also, the fact that you also voice Wreck-Gar on the newest Transformers animated, and your latest one, which was a parody of American Psycho with Huey Lewis. and with that, it actually inspired me to actually watch the original movie, which was completely dark, and it was a complete 180 from what you guys did. But the question is, would you be able to do some sort of a future project with other movies, kind of like for classic ones?
I didn't get the future project.
Like for what you did for American Psycho, are you going to be doing any future projects for other types of movies like that?
I'd like to. I mean, like I said, they probably wouldn't be doing UHF2, but I'm very open to doing other feature films. I've been pitching ideas around, and if the right opportunity comes up, I would obviously love to. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was a Funny or Die exclusive clip, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, yeah.
So are you going to be working with Funny or Die anymore in the
I
future?
have been. You know, I've been doing a lot of things with Funny or Die. I will probably be doing more with them in the future. My record label has basically told me that there's very little in the budget for music videos going forward. So I will probably be taking more advantage of outlets like Funny or Die, College Humor, Yahoo, things like that to try to bridge the gap.
Cool. Down this aisle.
All right. Hello. I'm getting married in a week, and when my fiance couldn't be here, but when he found out I was coming to see you, he wanted me to make sure I mentioned that he really appreciated your book, that when he was unemployed, it kind of gave him hope to do things he might not have wanted to do before. And I just wanted to ask about the story behind your book and what kind of started that for you.
Do you mean my kids' book or
yeah,
my?
the kids' book.
Okay.
Yeah, the
okay.
nice kids' book. I'm a librarian, so that also works.
The story behind it? Well, it's not completely autobiographical, but When I Grow Up is a story of a young kid named Billy who is, during show and tell, he riffs on all the amazing things that he might do when he grows up. And, I certainly kind of went through the same thing he did. I mean, there was a point in my life, which lasted a few years, where I kind of didn't know what I was going to be when I grew up. I graduated college with a degree in architecture, and I thought at one point that was what I was going to do. And then I realized about my third year in college that I really didn't like architecture that much. And I didn't know what I'd do. I wasn't really trained for anything else. I loved comedy, I loved music, I had a shift in the college radio station, I loved doing that. But I never really thought I'd be able to make a living in show business. I was just, a complete geek. Like, what am I going to do in Hollywood? But I knocked on some doors. I got some airplay on the Dr. Demento show. And within a couple of years, I had a record deal. So things worked out for me. But I had a couple years in there where I was like applying for janitorial work for the phone company, for like all these different things, just trying to like figure out how to pay the rent. So, I mean, I can completely empathize with Billy in the book.
Thanks.
Well, what is the message there for someone who is, struggling, trying to decide what venue or profession, I should say, they want to explore in life?
Well, it's to follow your muse, like figure out, and this is something my dad always told me, which was the best advice I ever got, is to figure out what makes you happy, and then figure out how to make a living doing what makes you happy.
Great advice. Down the floor over here.
Hi, Al again.
Hello.
Hello. Thought of a better question.
Okay.
I recently got to go.
It's about time.
Yeah. I recently got to go on a Jonathan Colton cruise with your proteges, Paul and Storm. And I'm wondering, I'm sure you've been approached with this, what is the likelihood and chance of you possibly being able to come on as a musical guest?
I don't know. Again, if they're able to book it, I'll show up. So,
can I call someone?
I love those guys.
Happen?
I mean, I look for any opportunity to work with those guys. I love Jonathan Colton, Paul and Storm, all those people. So sounds like fun.
Down this aisle.
All right. Hi, Al. A great concert last night.
Thank you.
Recently, you did a couple of appearances on the Aquabats Super Show, just with cameo appearances. What was that like, and can you confirm or deny or say anything to whether or not you're going to be back?
It was great. I loved it. I mean, I'm close friends with the guys that do the show, who are also the people that do Yo Gabba Gabba. So Christian had me back for the Aquabats show. I got to play the President of the United States in an episode, and I got to play Super Magic Power Man in another episode, which was a lot of fun. It was great. I had a great time. I will say, are they in production? They have not asked me back, but if I would do it in a heartbeat, it was a great time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're running kind of low on time, so you probably want to cut the lines off after these people. Hopefully we can get through all of these next questions. Let's go back down this side.
Hi, Al. On Reddit, I saw there was a TIL. Today I learned that you knew you were famous when you were at a party and you were going to introduce yourself to Paul McCartney, and he said, "Hey, look, it's Weird Al." Is that a true story?
That is a true story, yeah. It was at the premiere for his 1984 movie, Give My Regards to Broad Street. And I don't know how I got invited to this party, but I was there. And I was like hanging out with Michael Keaton, who at the time was not that big of a celebrity. It was the pre-Batman Michael Keaton. And we were both going like, Paul McCartney's over there, Paul McCartney's over there. I wonder if he'll talk to us. And finally, I just kind of weaseled my way through the crowd. First, I asked the publicist, like, could I talk to Paul McCartney? Oh, no, of course not. He's very busy. And I just kind of weaseled my way up to him and got close to him. In fact, if you look at old MTV interviews of that particular interview, you'll see Paul McCartney talking to Martha Quinn. I'm kind of like popping up in the background, like looking over people's shoulders. And I finally got up to him and said, hi, Mr. McCartney. My name is Al Yankovic, and I'd like, oh, Weird Al. It turns to Linda, look, honey, it's Weird Al. It blew my mind. I have no idea what either one of us said for the next minute. Everybody was snapping pictures, and I was like going, hey, Paul McCartney. So that's still like the most starstruck I've ever been in my life. It was amazing.
Just one other really quick thing. Like the song Riding Dirty was quite popular by Chameleon on its own, but maybe if people heard it, they would think of the beat, they would think of your song. How do you feel that the Al treatment could be more popular than the original song itself?
I'm sorry, how, so...
Your parody could be more popular than the original song itself.
Well, I was just informed that the video apparently was, so that was...
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
It is more popular for sure.
Riding Dirty was sort of a more like hip-hop, sort of more, and your song maybe had more broader nerd appeal.
There's more nerds than gangsters, apparently.
Let's hope so. Yeah. Down this side.
Hi, Al. Earlier you had mentioned that it's becoming more and more difficult to be first in terms of parodying. Have you ever considered, or are you considering, putting an album out of just your original works?
You know, I love doing the parodies and I love doing the originals, and I don't think I'd ever do one to the exclusion of the other. And the simple math of it is that it's the parodies that, by and large, sell the albums. I know that the hardcore fans, like probably many of you, appreciate the originals just as much, but frankly, it's the parodies that get the radio play, get the attention, and basically drive the sales. Although nobody's buying albums anymore anyway, so what's the point? So, anyway.
Down that side.
Hi, yes. One of the things that was shown between songs at the concert last night was a trailer for a movie called Weird. Is that a real thing?
The trailer's real, yeah.
Is the movie real?
No, it's, thank you, though. It's a Funny or Die video that Eric Capel directed and got some amazing people to participate in. And no, it's not a real movie, although a lot of people have wished that it were. Thank you, though.
Down this side.
Okay, I'm still really sad there's no UHF2, but...
You'll get over it, my friend, I'm sure. There's counseling for that.
Could a person like you possibly persuade a guy like Michael Richards, who's not really working much anymore, to resurrect Stanley Spadowski in like a Funny or Die sketch?
Yes, a person like me, but not me. It'd have to be basically my clone. No, I don't know. I haven't spoken to Michael in a while. That's something that might be kind of amusing. I'll have to see if he's interested.
And back to that side.
Hi, Al. I want to say thank you for UHF. My first job in television was at a station that was a lot like U62.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was kind of bad. My question is, I'm a child of the 80s. There's kids a lot younger than me here. Your music is really generational. How does it feel when you see a 7-year-old and a 47-year-old knowing your albums from the 80s, the 90s, and all those kind of things? How does that make you feel?
It's amazing. I mean, I say this all the time in interviews. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a more diverse audience, generationally, than at my shows. It's really great because the people that were into me when I first appeared on the scene, a lot of those people are still into me and bringing their kids to the shows, and I've been told it's sort of a family bonding experience. So it's very gratifying to hear that. Yeah, thank you.
Back down to this side.
I've got some pretty weird hair. What do you do to get your hair so glorious?
Thank you. I wash it occasionally.
Never thought of trying that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Back down to this side.
Well, I would have wished that the Weird movie was real, but that would definitely be a movie I would see. Now, just as a personal question, I actually do drum covers on YouTube. My question is, have you ever wanted to see a specific cover done on one of your own songs?
Yeah, I mean, any of them. I mean, I'd be flattered to, there's been some fan tribute albums where fans have gotten together and done cover versions of my songs or parodies of some of my original songs. In fact, one of my daughter's favorite songs is a parody of my original song, Hardware Store, called Dumbledores by Steve Goody. And she's a big Harry Potter fan, and she plays Dumbledore in the car constantly. So just she likes the parodies of my songs better than my own songs, apparently.
Thanks. We got one more.
What advice would you give to starting out new nerd rockers or parody rockers?
Well, accordion lessons never hurt. That's good. I mean, I started with the Dr. Menace show. YouTube exists now, so I mean, just get your stuff out there. I mean, what's nice about living in this slice of life we have right now is that there's no blocks to creativity. You don't have to rely on some executive in a glass tower somewhere to decide you're good enough. I mean, if you have something you want to put out there, all you got to do is upload it, and if it's good, people will find it.
True enough. Well, we got to say goodbye to Weird Al, but we want to give you a moment to say something to the fans. Do you want to thank them? Any words?
Thanks, fans!
There we go. It's Weird Al, everyone. He's got to catch a flight. Let's thank him for coming to Calgary Expo. Good job. Thanks so much.